Hey, welcome to Mortgage Mike Marcos. Today we're going to talk about the $418 million NAR settlement. Reading this article here from NBC News, consumer advocates and even some realtors hailed the NAR settlement. We've opened up the entire industry to competition. The process of buying a home has seemingly never been simpler. Find a property on a listings website like Zillow, Redfin, Trulia. Reach out to a listing agent, tour the property, and make an offer. But for years, behind the scenes, experts say consumers have not been fully aware of the ultimate cost and the potential conflicts of interest when searching for a home. And now the settlement with the NAR is poised to upend this model. According to consumer advocates and even some realtors, it's a win for the home buyers and the sellers. Now think about that for a minute. For the sellers, they won't have to pay as much anymore, I guess. And then for the buyers, they could, they could negotiate what they want to pay as far as what the commission is. So when someone goes looking for a home today, they're in the most cases intercepted by a broker who has access to certain listings, and he'll work with the buyer at no cost up front to help them get into a home. But therein lies a common misconception. Experts interviewed by NBC News said, although a homeowner who puts their property up for sale must hire professionals to market their home, they usually fold that cost into the final price paid by the buyer. The buyer then brings the entire purchase price to the table, and then the seller gets to keep a little bit more of that after this ruling. And as part of the new settlement, the buyer should now be fully apprised up front about any potential fees or commissions that they'll have to pay. That's because the agreement requires that the buyer sign a formal contract with a broker laying out exactly what services they'll be receiving and for how much. So talk about that for a minute. So right now, basically what happens is, let's say a house is on sale for $500,000 and then the buyer offers $500,000. Well, they literally don't have to pay commission out of pocket because the seller is paying it directly from the funds of the property. But now what I'm thinking is they could go at like 480, and instead of paying the commission to the buyer's agent, then that agent now has to negotiate directly with the buyer for their commission. And it could be, it doesn't have to necessarily be 2.5 or 3%. They could come in, anywhere between 1% to whatever they negotiate up to. So with that being said, alternatively, a home buyer could decide not to hire a broker and set their search costs towards somebody like a lawyer, an appraiser, or someone else with the knowledge of the housing market. So basically, the listing agent more than likely will be the one that they're looking to, and a seller could even offer to cover the cost of the buyer's team as an incentive to attract more buyers. So of course, the property is not garnering a lot of attention, such as buyer incentives are unlikely to be on the table. And in the months following the COVID reopenings, the hottest U.S. real estate markets were tipped squarely in favor of the sellers. But now with the home price kind of leveling out, as far as the playing field is, so this puts more buyers in the driver's seat, is what experts are saying. So instead of paying a commission, you could hire, somebody to figure out how much a house is worth. Instead of paying the full commission, you could just pay like a certain portion of it. So whomever prospective buyer chooses their representative in the home buying process, the NAR settlement now formally bans the seller's ability to advertise the commission for the buyer's reps on the MLS. For its part, the NAR has maintained that the free market has always set commission levels and that they were always negotiable and even useful. Offers of compensation help make professional representation more accessible, decrease costs for home buyers to secure these services, and increase fair housing opportunities, and increase the potential buyer pools for sellers. This is what NAR said in its March 15th statement announcing the agreement. But in most cases, there was little amount being offered in those commissions in a given market. There was little difference. Usually it's about 3%. That's because any attempt to offer a lower commission to a buyer's agent would likely motivate the agent to direct their client away from that property that was offering the lower commission. So Miller characterized that behavior as improper and said buyers in many cases would have had no awareness of it. The future here is that the buyers will now be in the driver's seat. Instead of that commission money going to their agent, it can now go directly to the buyer. And the same amount of money, but now it's the same amount of money, but now the buyer gets money instead of a buyer's agent, and they can decide what to do with it. What's more, greater competition for clients is likely to result in lower costs across the board. So this is said by Ryan Tomasello, a real estate industry analyst with Keefe, Bryan and Woods, a financial firm. So when you introduce a ton of transparency to a marketplace that has historically lacked it, any economist will tell you that reduces friction costs, i.e. commissions, and those are some of the highest in the world, Tomasello said. So the all-in cost of buying and selling a home in theory is supposed to decline. Many experts, including other real estate professionals, agree that the settlement will effectively thin the ranks of fly-by-night agents who serve as an intermediary, a phenomenon that surged during the pandemic-era housing boom. A lot of folks parachuted in during 2020 and 2021 to make easy extra money by putting themselves out there as a buyer's agent and taking 3%, said Phil Crescenzo Jr., Vice President of the Southeast Division of Nation One Mortgage Corp. But they weren't bringing 3% of value, not even close. Crescenzo compared it to moonlighting mortgage brokers who helped fuel the housing bubble in the mid to late 2000s. Once they changed the compensation rules, the dominant professionals rose to the top and the bottom disappeared and the industry got better. So we're hoping that, now that there's going to be direct buyer representation and the buyer disclosing, or the buyer's agent disclosing exactly what they do for their money, it's going to help the market out. Hopefully this is something that helps you out as a buyer. Again, if you like what you see, hit like, subscribe, and check it out later on. Thank you.